So, welcome back to another episode. And this is amazing to me. This just blows my mind. Today, I'm 40 years old. There's somebody out there who fainted. I know they did. Because I do look a lot younger for my age. That's for sure. So, I just kind of... It's such a symbolic age, isn't it? Turning 40. It's crazy. I don't know how the hell this happened to me. I swear to God, I was 21. Me and Rob are playing some video games, and the next, I look at my watch. I'm 40. That's kind of how life kind of goes. It goes by very, very fast, and I don't know what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to come in and just kind of talk about being a video gamer from my generation and becoming 40. It's really a trip. Yeah, it's crazy. I know I look quite good for my age. I can say, and I think that's to do with quitting smoking years ago, and I kind of, try to look after myself quite a bit. I watch what I eat and stuff like that, and but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about being a video gamer at 40 years old. And there's something interesting here. I remember when my parents turned 40, I was like, oh my God, they're so old. But they were part of a different generation. I was born in 1974. Just a few years before Star Wars. It's, in before Star Wars type of thing. But I'm a different generation than my parents were, and I grew up with video games. I grew up with, I grew up in the 80s. That was my time to grow up. So I grew up in 1982 was a great year to be 8 years old. We had Tron, The Thing, E.T., Conan, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, all these great things. So, The Dark Crystal, I could just keep on going. 1982 was a good year for movies, but I grew up in that time, and that's different than my parents. My parents never played video games. My parents weren't into science fiction movies or any of the culture of that. They just didn't care for it. It wasn't part of their generation. And I had an Atari 2600 as a kid, and here's something I'm going to admit. I didn't like it. I thought it was very lame. I remember playing the Empire Strikes Back video game, doing the same level over and over, destroying the AT-ATs. I'm like, this is it? This is all we got? I don't really care for this. I was always waiting for a next level to change, to do something different, and it never did. It was just repeating levels. And so I wasn't really a fan of that. But I was downtown in some arcades in Toronto, because I grew up in Toronto for a bit of my time when we emigrated from England. And I played a lot of I played Tron and Crawl and, a lot of those old arcade games in the very early 80s. And I liked arcade games. I thought they were cool. But video gaming for me hadn't started yet. And it wasn't, and I played the ColecoVision, I did all that, and I thought it was fun, I enjoyed it all, but arcades started to get me as I got older. But it was either 86 or 87, I went to a friend of mine's place, and I'll never forget this. I walked in, and they got the TV, and he had this, gray box, and this thing he's holding, controller. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? And he's playing Kung Fu. I'm like, and I look at the screen, and I couldn't believe this was the arcade game at home, and it was exactly the arcade game. I was like, what is this? And he goes, oh, it's a Nintendo. And I'm like, a Nintendo? What? What is a Nintendo? What is that? It's weird. It sounded strange. Never heard that name Nintendo before. And he passed me the controller, and I died instantly. Had no idea what to do, and then that was it. I never thought about it again. And then I went to another friend of mine's place down the road, and he had a Nintendo, whatever the hell that was. And I'm there with a whole bunch of local kids in the neighborhood, and they're all playing Super Mario 1. And I was like, what is this? What is this? There's turkeys walking around? The Goombas and stuff. I didn't know what they were. It was weird. The shell creatures. I'm like, what? And so they're like, here, you go. Because the kid who was playing was awesome. He knew all the secrets and all this stuff. I'm like, what? There's secrets in this thing? What is going on? So I start playing, and I run straight down a hole. Then I die. And I'm like, I can't understand how to do this. This is weird. A control pad, this button, 2 buttons, 4 buttons. I don't. This black thing I'm trying to maneuver myself with. No, don't get it. But I was fascinated by it. I thought it was so interesting. And then flash forward a little bit, and I go to a good friend of mine's place in 1987, and I'll never forget. I went and knocked on his door, and his parents had divorced. It was really important that his father was like spoiling him, so he had like so much stuff. It was crazy. I went in there, and I go into his house, and he turned the couch towards the wall, and he had the TV there, and he had his rows of Nintendo games. And he had the Advantage controller, which was unbelievable at the time. He had all the coolest kit. And the Nintendo Player's Guide. And I went over and I watched him play Zelda. And I was like, what is this? This is cool, though. I knew I liked it. I didn't know what it was, but I thought it was great. But I didn't have my own Nintendo for a long time. And then all of a sudden, I played hockey when I was younger. I live in Canada. My dad put me into hockey. I couldn't say anything about it. I enjoyed playing it, but it's 1987 still. And I have my hockey bag. I just finished a game, and it's my birthday. Or a couple of days before my birthday, and I'm walking towards the car. And my dad's like, my dad goes, I'll take your bag for you. And I'm like, no, I got it. I'll put it in the back of the car. He's like, no, I'll put it in the back of the car. We start having this argument. I'm like, why is he arguing with me? He's like, oh, fine. And he opens the trunk of the car, and there was a Nintendo Entertainment System with Hogan's Alley. And I was like, I couldn't believe I had my own Nintendo. It was like, wow. I brought it home that night, played a lot of Hogan's Alley, really loved it. I borrowed Super Mario Brothers off a friend of mine, and I played Super Mario Brothers for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, trying to try to finish the game. It was always about, try to take on that challenge. And I finally finished Super Mario Brothers. I finally finished it. And it was so euphoric finishing Super Mario Brothers for the very first time. And I remember my dad was watching. And I finished it, and where I'm like, yeah, I can't fucking believe it. My dad he's freaking out too, and high-fiving. It was a really big deal. I'm like, wow. And here's the moment that it all changed for me. I said to my dad, I said, oh, wow, what do I do now? Meaning, like, what do I do now to finish this game? And what he said to me next would start a trend with me for the rest of my life. He goes, oh, you got to get another game. I'm like, yeah, I do. And that addiction, that fun hobby addiction started. And I started to really get into video games then, and type of thing. So, but, and then I could just go on. I could go through like 20 years of memories playing video games. It's just so easy. But the one thing that I do want to stop and address and say to everybody is that it was at that time, I just going to grade 8, 1988. And I remember asking for Christmas, I'm like, oh, can I get some G.I. Joe toys? I love G.I. Joes. This is like, they were the best thing ever when I grew up. G.I. Joes and Transformers, the staple of my youth. And my mom, she's like, oh, aren't you getting a little too old for toys? And I was like, what? When did this happen? Am I? And I remember I had this moment like where I was like, no, but I really like that stuff. I think it's cool. It's awesome. And here's the thing. The world, people around you will always try to tell you what you should be into, what you should do. Oh, you shouldn't be into science fiction. Oh, you shouldn't be into video games. Oh, you need to be responsible with your life. Oh, you need this. I'm here to tell you, do whatever the fuck you want to do with your life. Don't listen to anybody else telling you, oh, you're too old for this, or you should stop doing that. Do whatever you want to do. And that is the advice I want to give with the video. Do whatever you want to do with your life. You only got your own life. That's it. So have fun with it. Be whoever you want to be. Be the biggest geek nerd in the history of the universe and enjoy it. Don't have somebody to tell you not to. I grew up in a time when me and Rob, we had to keep it on the down low that we play video games. If you were at high school and you said, oh yeah, I love video games, people would think you're crazy. This is during the NES days, into the Super Nintendo days. It was looked at as a nerdy hobby. When I started going out with a girl back then, I wouldn't tell them that I was into video games. You just didn't do that. You just scare them off. So, you know, it's so funny, but the one thing that I learned over the years is I became really strong about my hobby and defending it and loving it. To do with anime, video games, sci-fi movies, what have you, fantasy stuff. I love this shit to death, and I always will. And I'm not gonna, because I'm 40 years old doesn't mean that's gonna change. I'm exactly the same right now that I was when I was 16 years old. I just have a little bit more experience. That's the only thing that's changed. I still kept honestly, my sense of wonder, my sense of fun and excitement with things, and I'm not gonna have the world dictate to me who the fuck I'm supposed to be. I'll be anything I want to be, and I have been, and I really enjoy my life. I love being into video games. I really love the hobby. I really love watching anime still. You know, like, not, you know, I love all that kinds of stuff, and I always did. And I always felt that the world was trying to tell me, hey, you're not supposed to be this way. I had so many people. Oh, you're into anime? Oh, Jesus. Or, oh, you're into video games? Oh my God. You need to grow up. Oh, you collect toys? You collect toys? I get that a lot. You know, and it's like, yeah, I do, and I'm proud of it, and I like doing it. It's my hobby, and I enjoy it, and I think it's cooler than so many other things out there. Christ, what? Like I don't want to rock climb. Okay, I don't want to go mountain biking today. I don't mind mountain biking, but anyway, you get my point. Is that other people try to defend their hobbies as though they're the coolest thing in the entire universe. I climbed a mountain today. What did you do? Well, you know, I climbed a mountain and killed a whole bunch of monsters in this RPG, and it was awesome. Man, I kind of like that last one. That sounds pretty fun, but yeah, you know what? It's funny. I want you to know that when you get older, nothing has to change. It all can stay exactly the same. And yeah, I think that's my my big theory about turning 40 is that be yourself. And don't be afraid to be yourself, and don't worry about age. Don't worry about anything like that. That's irrelevant. It's whoever you want to be in this world. That's what's important, and that's what you should always try to do. So, guys, I'm 40 years old. Oh my God. Until next time.